else to talk to about this, so I've just decided to make a video. Hi, my name's Imani and I'm very into technology from the 2000s. When I was younger and also during lockdown in 2020, it was more for the nostalgia rather than anything else, but now I do see it as a very distinct moment in design and culture. I think in the time of the 2000s, technology was a lot more physical and a lot more experimental. Companies weren't afraid to play around and think outside the box with their design specifically. Objects in the 90s and 2000s looked like they were made of liquid metal. Critic Stephen Scove called them blobjects because of their amorphic, fluid form. Other terms floating around were blobism, organic minimalism, and biomorphic design. But even just looking at these things, it was very easy to see that industrial designers wanted to push past the squareness of the 80s and create such a futuristic look, and had a futuristic vision for things like watches, sportswear, music players. This is a very prime example of how technology influences form. I could go into that even more, but for now I want to show you my collection of technology that I've accumulated so far. A lot of this technology I've had since I was very young, so I am quite attached to it as it's seen so many versions of me. The reason why I love single-use devices so much, like CD players, DVD players, flip phones, digital cameras, is because they weren't just tools. They each had their own design quirks and limitations that shaped how you use them. You had to be a bit more intentional, choosing what to burn on a CD, deciding which photos were worth taking when storage was limited, or just dealing with whatever your phone could and couldn't do. Nowadays, single-use devices are quite unheard of because all companies care about is money and keeping you using their devices. For example, I have an iPhone. This is an iPhone XR. I got this 6 years ago, I think. And it just has one singular screen. And the reason why this is it's designed to keep you hooked. And it's designed to keep you on it for as long as possible. Phrases like doom scrolling and bed rotting weren't a thing that anyone said or anyone did. It was never a good use of your time. And people have almost made it into a hobby, which I do find quite disturbing. Obviously, I'm not immune to the doom scrolling and bed rotting. I do those things, but I very much try to limit myself. Technology now is just built for our convenience. Everything is at the click of your fingers, and you don't have time to wait anymore. I don't know if any of you remember, but when I was younger and we used the family computer, it took a little while to get online. And that waiting to get online allowed me to be bored and to be creative. And this is something that's completely unheard of now. I always say this, boredom breeds creativity. Companies aren't allowing us to be bored, and in turn, they're not being bored themselves and creating. They're just mass producing phones, tablets, just like this, that are exactly the same, maybe with one more camera, maybe with two, but the basic design is exactly the same. Whereas you look at phones from the 2000s, for example, every single person had a different phone with a different personality. But anyway, if I keep ranting, this video will never end. So let me show you my stuff. So I'm going to show you my CD players first. So my very first CD player I got in 2009, I believe, when I was 5 years old? Yeah, I think I was born in 2004, so I would have been 5. Anyway, what does every 5-year-old girl want in a CD player? Of course she wants it to be pink, and that is exactly what I got. So this is a Philips CD player, and she miraculously still works. You open the CD port like that, and you pop your CD in, and it will play. One thing about technology in the 2000s was that it was always very colourful, and you don't really see that today, which I am quite sad about because I think the world does need more colour. I don't know if any of you have picked up on this, but to me, I think the world has lost such a big chunk of its colour. Every single time that I go into a store and look for something, you know, a piece of clothing or whatever, all I'm met with is beige. And I think we're in such an epidemic of beige. You know, you see millennial beige mothers that don't allow their children to have colourful toys because it doesn't fit their aesthetic. And me personally, I do like aesthetics of things a lot. I mean, if you look at my room, you can see that. But to me, aestheticism does equal colour. You need to have colour. And the world has just become so muted and so tone deaf in so many things that I could talk about, but I'm not going to because this is not that kind of video. Anyway, I'm gonna show you my second CD player. This one I got in, I'd say 2017 or 2018. I must have been about 14, 15 then. This is her. She's not colourful, but she works very well, and she's got a lot of weight to her. And so this is the on button. I don't know if you can see that, but it does have a radio section. I don't really listen to the radio, but if you do listen to the radio, then this would be a very good alternative. It's from the brand Mikomi. This is the only Mikomi CD player I have, and it is good. I don't know about the rest of their technology, but this itself is quite good. And the music it plays is very clear, it's very crisp. Again, you open it like that, and it has 2 speakers on either side. And I just think it's a very nice, it's not a portable CD player, but it has got a handle. So I suppose it is portable if you want to carry something that heavy around. So the next thing I want to show you is my portable CD players. Now, I do use these a lot more than I use Spotify because I am trying to get off Spotify and put all of my music on CDs and listen to them through my portable CD players. So my first CD player is this Bush CD player. It's quite basic, quite, you know, there's not much to her. She is in black, which I do like, because I was planning on putting some stickers on her, or I don't know, maybe engraving something. And so just to work this, you press the little eject button and she will open up. I haven't got a CD in there at the moment, but I will show you a couple of my CDs as well. And just to close it, I just do that. And then it's got a little headphone jack, that's the green circle there, and it's got a little volume tuner. So yeah, there's not much to say about her. She's a good first CD player if you want to try them. You can get them for, I think I got mine on Vinted for about £15 when I was, how old was I? I was quite young. I think I was about 16. So you can get them very, very cheap on Vinted or on eBay, and it is a very, very good first CD player if you want to get into this kind of stuff. Now, my second CD player is a bit on the pricier side. It is a Sony Walkman CD player. I believe these are called Discmen, I don't know. But yeah, she's a little bit more pricey because it's Sony, and I think because it has this thing. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but either way, this is a very similar, there's not much to her either, to be honest. I think I just got this more for the aesthetics rather than anything else, but she does play very, very well. I can't fault her for that. So for this one, you press the little open button. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. Anyway, you press the open button. She will open. Surprise, surprise. I haven't got a CD in there, but I will put one in there in a bit. So, and then just to close her like that. And there's the play button, skip button, pause button, all of that stuff. I really like this CD player. This is one of my favorites. Now, for CDs, if you are looking for CDs, I would definitely recommend your local charity shops because they have such a good selection of CDs a lot of the time, and usually they're 50p or £1 each, which is really, you know, such a steal in this economy. I'm very lucky because I've been collecting CDs most of my life, I would say, and the place that I'm living in right now has about 12 charity shops, which kind of spoils me for options with CDs. So I'm just going to show you a couple of my favorites and tell you where I got them. One more thing I do love about CDs is that they are so compact, and you know, this barely takes up any room, which I'm really happy about because I have so much stuff, as you can see. Anyway, so this is my Stevie Nicks CD. I actually got this from a CD store called Derek's Music. I love Stevie Nicks, so I really wanted to get this, and these CDs that you can't find in charity shops you can usually get in old, you know, retro CD stores. This was £10, so it was a little bit pricier than what I'm usually used to, but if I can't find a CD, I will either go to this CD shop or I will go to HMV because they do have a lot of CDs and usually they're for quite a good price. Sometimes the CDs there you can get 2 for 1, which I really like. Anyway, the rest of these I got all from different charity shops in my city. So first of all, I got this Madonna CD, and I think as I'm getting older I'm liking Madonna even more because, I don't know, maybe it's something about aging. Anyway, this is a very, very good CD. I do recommend this. And this was £1 from the Air Ambulance. And then, this is also from the Air Ambulance. I got this very iconic Spice Girls CD. I was never really into the Spice Girls when I was younger, but I think as I'm getting older, I'm getting a lot more into them. And it does make sense, you know, I am British, so I think it's a rite of passage. The next one, Beach Boys CD. I do like this. I'm not even gonna lie, I do like this. I can't remember where I got this from, but this was £1.50, which is really nothing. Especially now that summer's coming up, I'm definitely going to be listening to this a lot more because I do like surfer music, I really do. And the last one, my favourite album ever, is Sade. I love Sade. I've been listening to her since I was able to use my ears. My mother used to play Sade a lot, so I grew up on them, and I love her voice. I think it's beautiful. One thing I do want to add is even if you can't find albums that you like, you can always burn CDs. I feel like that's a very lost art because no one burns CDs anymore. So that's one thing that you could definitely try out. There are a lot of tutorials on YouTube and TikTok and all of that. So I would recommend you follow one of those because they're usually quite easy to follow, even if you're a beginner. I'm going to show you a couple of my burnt CDs now. So I'm very lucky that I have a printer at home. So I burnt this CD first. I do a lot of yoga, so this is kind of my yoga CD playlist, I guess. These are the songs on there. If you want inspiration, there you go. So with this, I just got a regular CD cover and some CDs, and then I burnt the CD onto the... That's not right. I burnt the songs onto the CD, And in my city, we have this shop that's able to print pictures on your CD. So I tried that and it turned out really well. So this is the inside of the CD, which I think is really nice. I have a little lady doing some yoga there. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, so that's my first band CD. This is my second one. It's my surfing CD, even though I obviously don't listen to this when I surf, but I do like listening to this, and I can't really see the songs on here, but yeah, it's very laid back, you know. There's a lot of Bob Marley on there. There's some bossa nova artists that I really like, that I'm not gonna try and pronounce because I might butcher it and I don't want to butcher it. But if you want the playlist, I do have a Spotify playlist that is almost exactly the same as this, so I can link that under if any of you want that. Yeah, this is my rap playlist. I don't listen to this a lot, but I am surprisingly into rap music, which most people wouldn't expect because, I mean, anyway, yeah, this is my rap playlist, and I do listen to that sometimes. And this is my, I don't know how to word this, but my 2000s 13 going on 30 rom-com, my mother at 20 years old type playlist. So there's, I don't know if you can see the songs on this, but there's a couple of songs that kind of emulate that feeling. And then again with this is quite a chaotic interior, but that is how it looks inside. I feel like I've said way too much, but anyway, yeah, those are a couple of my burnt playlists, and I do have those same playlists on Spotify, so I can put my Spotify down below in the description if any of you end up finding this video. I just want to quickly show my headphones as well, because I like them. So these are the Marshall's headphones. I got these on eBay for I think £40. They are a bit pricey, but they do have some very good sound quality. So if you are looking for a good pair of headphones, I would definitely recommend these. I do like the retro look of them as well, and they're quite comfortable. I did just get my helix done, so I'm not going to put them on right now. I've just been using your regular earphones to listen to music, but as soon as my helix is healed, I'm putting these on because I really like them. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is my DVD player. She's a little bit old, but that's fine. So you just open her up, and then this is what she looks like inside. I think it's quite a nice sleek design. So you just press the eject button here, and then it opens up just like your regular CD player. I haven't used her in a little while because I have been studying for exams and there's just no time to watch any movies at all. But I really like her. She's a mini home cinema, that's what it says. I don't think there's any brand on it. I think this is the brand, Mini Home Cinema, but I've had this for ages and ages. I think this thing is actually older than I am. So, but you can find so many portable DVD players online, on eBay or on Vinted, so I would definitely recommend that if you're into watching movies like that. I do have quite a big DVD collection. I only brought a couple of them with me to uni. I say a couple, there's quite a few, but we're not going to talk about that. I do like rom-coms a lot. I'm a very girly girl, so rom-coms are usually my go-to. But you can get DVDs at charity shops anywhere for probably like £1, £2 at most. So if you're into DVDs, then you should definitely look in charity shops. And even like CDs, you can look in HMV as well, because they do offers sometimes. You just have to look out for them. And personally, I think they're just so much better than streaming services. I stopped my subscription for Netflix, I think 3 months ago, just because there was nothing good on Netflix, and I don't want to keep paying for things that I'm not going to watch. So at least with DVDs, you can find a DVD that you know you're going to watch and you like, and it's just one purchase and you have it for the rest of your life, as long as you take care of it. The next thing I want to show you is probably one of my favorite items in this whole video. It is my phone. So this is the Nokia 7373. It was a part of the Nokia L'Amour collection in 2006, I believe. She's quite small, she's quite diddy, but I really like her. I really like her, and she does work. So if I press the on button, she does work. So I do sometimes talk on here, text on here. There's not really much you can do, so I've just clicked the menu, and this is the screen that you're met with. So there's not a lot on there. The web doesn't work obviously because it's Java and we don't use Java anymore, but I do have a contact list, so, and I do have their numbers as well, which I'm not going to show you for obvious reasons, but you can do not that much on here, but it's good if you want to stop being on this for hours and hours and hours. So I do take this phone with me everywhere because it has my banking apps, it has my bus pass, it has so many things on it, but I do tend to keep it at the bottom of my bag. If I want to take pictures, I will take it out, but I do have cameras as well, so I am trying to take more pictures on my cameras. But anyway, this is one of my favorite things that I own, and it's so pretty as well. Like, look at this. Can't tell me that's not beautiful. Anyway, she's not actually a flip phone. She is a swivel phone. So whenever I want to use her, I will just, and then she swivels back in. So that's a wonderful little item that I have. Now, if you really want to get one of these, you can look on eBay, but just be careful because there are some fake ones, so just watch what you buy. They're usually, I'd say maybe in the 60s to 80s, about £60 to £80. If they are more expensive, I wouldn't say it's worth it, but if you find one that's good quality and you make sure it works, then I think it's a really nice purchase for you to have. So the last little collection that I want to show you is my collection of cameras. So this first one was actually given to me by a friend as a birthday gift. So I think she's from Amazon, I'm not entirely sure, but this is the camera. She's quite large, but she does the job. And this one actually has a swivel out little screen there, which I think is quite cool. So for this one, you just switch it on and then it is a bit difficult to coordinate because I'm not really used to this kind of stuff, but yeah, if it works. I think the flip out screen is a little bit difficult to coordinate for me because I don't have very good coordination anyway, but if that's a bit of you, then I would recommend that you get this. I'm not really a supporter of Amazon. I wouldn't say get it from Amazon, but I'm sure that there are people selling them on Vinted or eBay. So if you get one secondhand that's in good condition, that would be something that I would really recommend. It's quite a good first camera, especially if you are a bit younger. It's quite easy to navigate, and it's got a little flash here as well. And the camera quality is alright. I'll put some pictures so you can see what they look like. So my second camera is actually my favorite camera. It's the Kodak PixPro FZ45. That was quite a mouthful. But this is her. She's quite glossy. She's quite petite as well. If you look at this camera compared to this camera, there's quite a sizable difference. But I personally think that this camera has a lot better quality than the other one, which does reflect in the price as well. I think this was £112 or £114 if I'm not mistaken. But I really do like her, and there's not really much to say about her, really. I'll show you some pictures and you can decide which one is nicer. I think this one is. So that is all of my technology that I own. I do just want to say that my love for 2000s technology isn't limited to the technology that I own. There are a lot more pieces and items that I really do like, but I never owned them. I just saw them on TV or in other people's houses or in adverts, things like that. So I do want to show you some of the pieces that I want to collect. It is quite difficult though, collecting pieces, especially now, because they are considered vintage, so vintage technology is significantly more expensive than technology, say, from 10 years ago. And especially now, I think sellers are hiking up their prices because of the surge in analog hobbies. I wouldn't say this is entirely analog because it is still digital media, but played on an analog device, I guess. But anyway, I want to tell you a little bit about some technology that I didn't necessarily own, but I used to see in adverts on TV in my friends' houses, that sort of thing. So the first piece of technology that I really like and would really love to have in my collection one day is the iMac G3. If you're going to treat the iMac G3 just like another cute retro object, it is worth pushing back on that bit. It was actually a pretty disruptive piece of design at the time. So the iMac G3 wasn't just memorable because of the colours, although the Bondi blue and later fruit finishes definitely helped it stand out. It arrived in 1998 at a point where most PCs were still beige, boxy and intentionally quite invisible. So this was one of the first mainstream computers that looked like it was meant to be seen. But the design choices weren't just aesthetic. Apple decided to remove the floppy disk drive entirely, which was quite controversial, and they pushed a USB as a standard when most people weren't actually ready for it yet. It also simplified setup in a way that feels quite obvious now. Everything was in one unit. There was minimal cables, and it was marketed as something that you could just plug in and use without much technological knowledge. After doing a bit of research, I did find that critics at the time were quite split in their opinions. Some saw it as forward-thinking and quite necessary, especially in how it anticipated a more internet-focused way of using computers, and others thought it was a style over substance. Their lack of legacy ports annoyed a lot of users, and the design itself was sometimes dismissed as gimmicky or even toy-like, especially compared to the more serious look of competing PCs. Looking back at it though, it is quite hard not to see it as a turning point, because it did reframe the computer as a personal object rather than just office equipment, which is something that carries through to how technology is designed now. So when people feel nostalgic about it, it isn't just the colours and the design, it is more of the movement that it represents, where tech started becoming a lot more expressive as well as functional. And to be honest, I think that the iMac G3 is probably one of the most nostalgic pieces of tech from that whole period, even for people who never actually owned one like me. Part of it is just how recognizable it is. Like the translucent plastic, the rounded shape, the bright colors. It doesn't really blend into the background as most computers did back then, or even now. It feels very tied to a specific moment in time where tech was starting to become marketed as something personal and something very expressive and not just a functional piece. But the nostalgia isn't only visual, it is also about how it fits into that early internet era. So like think of shared family spaces, slower connections, and a much more deliberate way of using a computer. It's much easier to associate it with things like early web browsing, basic games, or just the routine of waiting for your turn to use it after your siblings. I think what's very interesting is that some of the things that people now feel nostalgic about were exactly what critics pushed back on at the time. So the colours were seen as way too playful, the design as very unserious, and the lack of older ports as inconvenient. But looking back, those choices are part of why it stands out so clearly now. I think the iMac G3 essentially becomes part of your identity when you buy it. And I think that is something that tech has lost today, because this, I can customize it. I have my wallpaper, I have my home screen, but it doesn't scream me, if that makes sense. I can only do so much to this, but with the iMac G3, you can buy it in a specific color. It's just a generally quite nostalgic piece. I would say it's probably the most nostalgic of the pieces that I'm going to talk about in this video, but it just makes me feel very happy and just gives me my sense of childlike wonder, I guess. Now, another one I always come back to is the iBook G3 clamshell, and it's hard to separate it from the same kind of nostalgia as the iMac, but it does feel even more personal to me. The design is almost exaggerated. It's quite thick, rounded, brightly coloured with that built-in handle that makes it feel less like a fragile piece of tech and more like something you were meant to carry around with you. So it doesn't try to hide what it is, it more leans into it, I guess. It does lean into that sort of childlike, toy-like sense of wonder. And again, critics at the time didn't universally love it. It was called bulky and toy-like and even quite impractical compared to slimmer laptops that came later. But I think that is part of what makes it so memorable now. It wasn't trying to disappear into minimalism, and it kind of had a physical presence that most modern laptops just don't. I think in the nostalgia sense, it also taps into a really specific shift of the idea of a personal computer becoming portable in such an everyday way, not just something for offices or desks, but something you could take to school, move around the house with, and actually treat as your own. And like the iMac, it does reflect that early stage of consumer tech where companies were still figuring out things in public. So they were experimenting with form, color, and how people might actually live with these devices. It does feel less refined than what came after, but in a way that makes it a lot more distinctive. You can kind of see the direction tech would go in, but it hasn't really been smoothed out yet, and that's why it's so nostalgic to me specifically, and I'm sure it's nostalgic to other people in that sense as well. The next thing I want to talk about is a specific CD player called the B&O B-Sound 9000 CD player. I will show you a picture of it. I think it's absolutely wonderful. So this CD player feels completely different to my other CD players, but I think that's what makes me like it so much. It is less about everyday use and more about how tech could double as a design object. For example, I really like the 6 CD slots lined up in a row. I love the glass panel on top, I think it's so chic. And also just the way the mechanism moves between the discs. It seems very deliberate and almost theatrical, I guess. You're not just playing music, you're kind of watching it happen in real time, which I think is really cool. I think for me, the reason why it's so nostalgic is because it kind of taps into a time where physical media still felt central to a person. So like choosing a CD, loading it, displaying it, it was all part of the experience. And this takes that idea to an extreme, turning something routine into something quite performative. Even this, critics were a bit divided on, because a lot of people appreciated the engineering and the design ambition, but others saw it as excessive and more about aesthetics and luxury than practicality. It is expensive, it takes up space, and it doesn't really solve a problem in a more efficient way than other CD players did. I think it was on eBay, they're usually around £3,000, which is quite expensive, and I'm not sure how much they went for back then, but still very expensive. But I think that is kind of why it stands out now. It does represent a version of tech where function wasn't the only priority. There was definitely room for spectacle and for design and for making something that feels quite intentional rather than just an invisible CD player that you just plug in a CD and it plays for you, you know? And looking back, it almost feels like the opposite of how we interact with music now. Everything is instant and very compressed and hidden inside your screen. With something like this, the process is quite visible and very physical, and it's very slowed down, which is exactly why it's so nostalgic to me and so many other people, I'm quite sure of it. Now, I just want to talk about something a little bit more current, but still kind of connected to all of this. It's the recent surge in cyberdecks. If you haven't come across them, cyberdecks are basically custom-built portable computers, usually made from things like Raspberry Pis, small screens and mechanical keyboards, and whatever materials people can find or repurpose. And what's very interesting to me is why they've come back. A lot of people, especially recently in 2026, are getting quite tired of how uniform modern tech feels. Everything is very thin, very minimal, touchscreen based, and kind of locked down. And cyberdecks kind of go in the opposite direction. They're very bulky, they're very visible, personalized, and quite chaotic sometimes. And because of that, I'd also say there's something very 2000s about that mindset, not in terms of exact hardware, but in the way people interact with it. By building something yourself and modifying it and accepting limitations of it, it does feel very close to early internet culture where tech wasn't fully polished yet and you had to kind of figure things out as you went along. I would say from most of the cyberdecks I've seen, these items are quite intentionally impractical. Some of these are designed for specific niche uses like coding, radio monitoring, or just experimenting in general, but others are almost purely aesthetic, inspired by cyberpunk films or games. So I saw one recently that was a camera, and this girl had 3D printed it, and it kind of looked like those clamshell things you got in Totally Spies. I don't know if any of you have seen that show. It's very nostalgic to me. I love Totally Spies. I would say there is a bit of criticism built into these. They do reflect a pushback against corporate mass-produced devices and the idea that your computer should feel like yours, not just another identical slab of metal and glass. But at the same time, I have seen people question them. Even within the community, there is debate about whether some cyberdecks are actually useful or if they're just seen as props that prioritize style over function. And I think that's why they're interesting in the context of 2000s technology. They're not nostalgic in a direct way, but they're kind of nostalgic in spirits, I guess. They bring back that more sense of experimentation, individuality, and kind of messy interaction with technology that feels a little bit lost now. One thing I do worry about is how our generation specifically is quite tied to trends. So as soon as one trend comes and goes, that's it. We throw away whatever we've bought or whatever we've made. So I really hope that this new surge of analog media, cyberdecks, things like that doesn't just become another throwaway trend, because for me, whenever I collect CDs, I collect them and I listen to them. A lot of people just collect CDs now to collect and to gather dust rather than to actually listen to them. So I do really hope that we grow out of that, and maybe this is a way forward. Anyway, thank you for watching. This was my very long-winded video about technology that I love. So if you enjoyed that, then that's good. Thank you so much.